Let me tell you something most men don't know. A drunk woman doesn't leave. She'll may ramble. She'll may laugh too loud. She may cry at things that don't make sense. But Lee, no. That filter, gone. That control disarmed. What comes out when she's drunk? Is what's been buried sober? Now, I'm going to break an unspoken cottonite. And I know some women won't like this, because I'm about to hand you the playbook. The 6 questions that reveal what she really thinks about you, what she truly wants, and what she'll never admit when the room is bright and her guard is up. But when she's had that second glass of wine, when the eyeliner is just slightly smudged, when her voice gets softer and the room feels warmer, that's when you ask. That's when you listen. And if you do it right, she won't even realize she's giving you themes. Whereas if you're a man who wants clarity, not confusion, hit subscribe BCs. This channel isn't for boys chasing signals. It's for men who want the truth. Let's begin. Question 1. 1. Who was your first real love? Who was your first real love? Let's get honest for a second. This question sounds simple, even innocent. But when you ask a woman, especially when she's loosened, up a bit with genuine, calm curiosity, it opens a door, not just to her past, but to her emotional truth. Because her answer isn't just about who, it's about how she loved, what she felt, and what that still means to her. That question reaches under the surface. Let me tell you about David, 52, recently divorced after a 20-year marriage. One night, after a long conversation over dinner, he finally asked his partner this question. Her response didn't name a guy from her 20 IEs. No, her first real love, she said quietly, was someone she was never in a relationship with, just a summer flirtation. When she was 19, she talked about how he made her feel seen, how intense that short time felt. And then she said something David couldn't forget. I've never felt that way again. Not in 2 decades of relationships. Now, here's where it gets real. When she tells you about her first real love, you're learning. About her emotional blueprint. You're not just hearing astery. You're hearing what imprinted on her. What she chases without realizing it, and what you're unknowingly... This is the stuff no dating coach tells you. But a stoic man, grounded, observant, silent when needed. He listens, not for names, but for needs. Her first real love reveals what she craves emotionally. It's not what she says she wants, but what actually moved her. Was it excitement, security, chaos, worship, or something she herself can't define? Women often carry their first emotional imprint with them long after the man is gone. And here's the catch. Sometimes they recreate that dynamic unconsciously. Sometimes they're running from it. Sometimes they're still measuring every new man against it, including you. Let's go deeper. Meet Angela, 47. She dated a man named Marcus, who was emotionally distant but mysterious licoricic. She was young and obsessed. 10 years later, she found herself drawn to emotionally unavailable men again and again. The pattern never broke until one night. She admitted to her partner, I don't think I ever stopped loving him. If you're the man sitting across from her when that moment comes, don't flinch. This is where stoicism meets strength. This is when a boy would feel threatened, but a man listens. Because if that revelation isn't a rejection, it's a roadmap. A woman's first love holds a secret to how she bonds, to what makes her walls come down to where her history began. Now, some guys mess this up. They hear the name of her first love, get jealous, get insecure, maybe try to compare or compete. That's boy energy. You want to understand, not challenge. You want to listen, no to react. Because when she opens up that vulnerable part of herself, she's watching how you handle it. If you flinch, she shuts down. If you lean in calmly and say nothing. For a moment, she starts trusting you in ways she doesn't even realize. This question, who was I or first real love, is never about the past. It's about revealing her emotional percent. What she's hiding, what she's afraid to lose, what she's still anxious for. And if you want to take it even deeper, notice what she doesn't say. The gaps, the hesitations, the changes in tone. When she smiles, when she looks away. Those are emotional fingerprints. And they say more than words. If you understand that, you're already ahead of 90% of men. You're not just making conversation. You're creating intimacy, emotional clarity, and most importantly, attraction rooted in emotional maturity, not performance. Comment below if you've ever had a moment like that. Just type, "I've seen this." And don't go anywhere. What I'm about to show you next will completely shift how you understand her hidden signals. Question 2. What's 2? What's something you've never told me? Something you've never told me. There's a reason this question hits hard. It's not about catching her. It's not about digging for guilt. It's about giving her the space to drop the performance. Yowsk. This when her voice is softer. When the whines hit just enough. When the music is low and the eye contact lingers just half a second too long. This is when the truth peeks out from behind the curated smile. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. Martin, 58, recently divorced, started dating again after a 20-year marriage. He met Eliza, 49, an elegant woman with presence, confident, composed, but somehow guarded. They'd been seeing each other for a couple of months when he asked her one night, "Is there something you've never told me?" She exhaled. Then she said, "I'm scared of getting close again because the last time I did, I lost myself." That answer wasn't dramatic, but it told Martin everything. It wasn't about him. It was about her story, her fear, her pattern. And it explained why she pulled back. Whenever they started to feel real, this question, when timed right, reveals what she protects. Not what she hides maliciously, but what she's too afraid to say when sober. And often what she hasn't told you is what she's still working through inside. It's a beautiful and painful thing. About women is this. They remember every emotional bruise, even the ones you never saw, even the ones they never showed. They carry those moments like pages in a book only they can read. So when she finally opens one of those pages to you, that's not weakness, that's trust. And what you do in that moment determines everything. Most guys don't know how to sit in that silence. They fidget, they joke, they change the subject because the truth is uncomfortable. But you're not most guys. You're here because you want the truth, not some filtered, polished version. Ya wint. What's real, even if it stings? Here's another story. Walter, 50, had been seeing Caroline, 46. She was always upbeat, funny, light-hearted. But when asked, "What haven't you told me?" she admitted something dark. "I use Tot Sheet. I haven't in years, but it's something I regret deeply. I always wonder if people will judge me if they knew." That changed how Walter saw her. Not as perfect, but as honest. And that shift made their conversations deeper because now he knew she wasn't hiding a past, she was owning it. You might not get an answer like that. Sometimes it's small. "I hated your friend's comment that night." Sometimes it's buried shame. "I don't feel good in my body anymore." Sometimes it's unspoken love. "I thought I was falling for you, but I didn't know how to say it." No matter what the answer is, your job is to hear it without flinching, without reacting, just being present. Because that's where the shift happens. Not when you convince her to trust you, but when she convinces herself that she can be seen without being judged. And here's the kicker. Most women are waiting to be asked this question. They want to be known, but they don't want to volunteer their secrets. They want you to want to know them deeply. So, when you ask this, you're not just gathering information, you're opening a door no one's walked through before. That's power. It's not control power, but intimacy power. And you can't fake that. Now, are you ready for the question that unlocks jealousy, fantasy, and the hidden comparisons no one wants to admit? It's coming next. And trust me, you'll never look at her harmless glances the same again. Comment below. I invite truth. No, you're not here to play safe. You're here to grow. Question 3. Do you ever wonder what your life would be like with someone else? This question sounds 3. Do you ever wonder what your life would be like with someone else? Dangerous, and it is. It walks the line between curiosity and betrayal, between fantasy and honesty. But here's the truth. Everyone has wondered, even I've just for a second during an argument, in a moment of boredom, or while watching a movie. It doesn't mean they're disloyal. It means they're human. So why ask this? Because her answer reveals what she craves, but doesn't say what she thinks she's missing. And whether it's something you can give or something she doesn't even understand herself. Let me show you a real-life example. Dennis, 55, had been dating Lana, 50, for about 6 months. Things were stable, comfortable, but something in her energy had shifted. They weren't fighting, but they weren't connecting deeply either. One night, after a drink or two, Dennis asked her straight up, "Do you ever wonder what your life would be like with someone else?" Lana didn't get angry. She didn't deflect. She said, "Sometimes, yeah. I wonder what it would feel like to be with someone more adventurous, someone who doesn't play it so safe." That hit Dennis not because it was an attack, but because it was. The first honest feedback he'd gotten in months. He realized that while he thought consistency was his strength, she saw it as routine. So what did he thought? He took her hiking the next weekend, booked a spontaneous getaway the next month, not to become someone else, but to show her he wasn't fixed in place. That version of him she thought only existed in other men. It was in him, too. Just needed a reason to wake up. That's the power of this question. It doesn't just reveal her mind. It gives you a roadmap. Not to pretend, but to expand. Now, don't panic if her answer isn't flattering. She might say, "Yeah, I wonder what it would be like to be with someone who listens more, or someone you hope takes care of themselves better, or even someone who doesn't make me feel so emotionally exhausted." Breathe. That's not the time to defend. It's the time to absorb, because you're not losing her in that moment. You're finally hearing her, and most men never do. And what if she says no? What if she looks at you and says, "I haven't really thought about it"? That tells you something too. Either she's fully present with you or she's hiding how she really feels. Because she doesn't feel safe enough to say it. That's where tone matters. It's not just what she says, but how she says it. Flat, rehearsed, defensive, or thoughtful. Reflective, honest. Because its goal isn't to trap her in an answer. The goal is to give her a moment of reflection. Here's something few men understand. When a woman gets to express her deeper fantasies out loud, they often become less powerful. Why? Because sometimes just speaking, it kills the illusion. It exposes it. It grounds it. And that's when she stops chasing what if and starts appreciating. What is this question makes her choose? Do I keep building imaginary futures, or do I start showing up in this one? Now let's be clear. This isn't a question to ask on the first date or in the middle of a fight. This is a soft question, a quiet tone delivered with calm energy. When the vibe is slow, when the space between you is open, and when you ask it, don't feel the silence. Let her feel the weight of it. Because sometimes the longer the pause, the more powerful the answer. Sano, I've got a question for you. Comment below. I want truth. Simple, direct. I fear not afraid to hear what most men never do. Let me know and stick around. Becco's the next question will expose her emotional attachments like a spotlight. Even the ones she pretends didn't exist. Question 4. What's the biggest lie you've ever told me? Ask for. What's the biggest lie you've ever told me? This one carefully, because unlike the earlier questions that feel curious or flirtatious, this one carries weight. It invites her to dig into guilt. And guilt is sticky, emotional, sometimes explosive. But if you ask it in the right way, when she's vulnerable, when she feels safe, when there's trust in the room, what she reveals might completely shift the way you see her or yourself. This question cuts past performance. Gets to her integrity, her fear, her need to protect or manipulate the truth. Now let's be honest. Everyone lies. Little things, big things, not always out of malice, but often out of fear. Fear of rejection, of confrontation, of losing someone they care about. So, when Yao asks, "What's the biggest lie you've ever told me?" You're not accusing, you're offering a confession booth. Let me show you what I mean. Back when Michael was 52, he was in a 2-year relationship with a woman named Tara, who was 49. Smart, stunning, emotionally sharp, but always had a wall. No matter how many dinners they shared, trips they took, or laughs they had, there was a part of her that stayed guarded. One night, just the two of them on the patio, she'd had a couple glasses off wine, the stars were out. Michael leaned in and said, "Tara, what's the biggest lie you've ever told me?" She froze, looked at him, looked away. Then she said something that shifted everything. She said, "When I told you I was over my ex, I wasn't." Not completely. Now he could have gotten angry, but instead he stayed calm and asked, "Are you over him now?" And she nodded, "Yes, but I needed time, and I didn't know how to admit that without losing you." That moment deepened their bond because it wasn't about perfection. It was about honesty, even when it's ugly. The truth is, this question reveals more than just the lie. It shows you what she hides when she's scared, what she thinks you can't handle, and what she might still be hiding even now. Sometimes the answer will surprise you. It might be, "I lied when I said I liked your friends." Or, "I never told you I was texting my ex during our first few weeks." And sometimes the lie might be one-off protection. "I said I was okay when I wasn't. I said it didn't hurt me when you forgot my birthday, but it did." These lies aren't always malicious. They're emotional. Shields. Now, how do we all respond? With calm, with strength, and most importantly, with presence. Don't interrupt. You don't react. You receive. And when she finishes, don't try to fix it. Just say, "Thank you for telling me." Because once a woman feels safe telling the truth, she becomes more emotionally naked, not just honest, but open. You want intimacy? This is how you create it. Not just by touching Herbity, but by touching the parts of her she's never shown anyone. Let's also be real. Sometimes her answer will sting. Sometimes it'll make you question things. That's normal. But the point of this question isn't to make her confess like she's on trial. It's to see if she's willing to show you the parts of herself that aren't polished. If she can do that, there's something worth holding on to. If she can't, that's something Tay paid attention to. So, now here's your moment to be direct, too. Comment below, "I want honesty." It means you're not here for performance. You want something real, raw, true. And if you think that was revealing, what's coming next might expose more than you're ready for. But that's exactly why you need to hear it. Stick around. Question 5. Who in our friend group do you find attractive? Friend group do you find attractive? Now, this one's bold and it's risky. Boutif, you're watching this video. I know you didn't come here for safe questions. Came for the truth. Asking her who in your circle she finds attractive isn't about being jealous or insecure. It's about understanding her instincts. Those subtle pulses of curiosity or desire that she normally keeps buried, because attraction isn't always about intent. Sometimes it's just energy. And understanding that energy gives you insight into what she notices even when she says nothing. Let me give you a real-world example. Mark is 56, divorced for 2 years. He's been dating Sandra, 49, for about 9 months. Things are going well, steady, affectionate, fun. But Mark had this feeling. There's this guy in their social circle, Nate, early 52nd, confident, loud, always the center of attention at gatherings. Sandra laughs at all his jokes, touches his arm just a second too long. Not obvious, but not nothing. So, one evening after a few drinks at home, Mark turned to her and asked, "Sandra, who in our friend group do you find attractive?" At first, she lied. It off said, "You're the only one I notice." But Mark held her gazine, said, "Come on, I'm serious." No judgment. Just be honest. That's when Sandra admitted she always found Nate charismatic. Not that she wanted him, but she noticed him. Now here's where most men go wrong. They let ego take over. They turn a confession into a courtroom. But Mark didn't flinch. Hest, interesting. What about him catches your eye? Sandra paused, then said, he's assertive, confident. He owns. The room, it's magnetic. Now pause it. Right there, Mark learned something critical. It wasn't Nate she wanted. It was the masculine confidence he represented. See, when you ask this question, you're not asking who she wants to sleep with. You're asking who triggers her feminine response. And that's a huge distinction because it gives you a map. Shows you what qualities spark her attention. It bites. The way someone carries himself. Maybe it's how he speaks. Maybe it's hesitance. Either way, it's information and you can use it not to imitate someone else, but to sharpen your own edge. 'Cause here's a truth most men overlook. When you're confident enough to ask this question without fear, you become more attractive. Just by asking it, you show you're not threatened. You show you're self-assured and you create a space where honesty isn't punished. It's welcomed. Now, let's talk timing. Don't ask this when she's stressed. Don't ask it during an argument. Ask it when. Her defenses are low when she feels warm, relaxed, and emotionally open. Late night wine poured. Music soft, no phones, no noise. Just the two of you and the truth sitting in between. Some answers will be playful, some will surprise you. She might say, honestly, your friend Brian, there's something about how quiet he is, mysterious, or maybe Claire. Yeah, she's stunning, but she intimidates me more than anything. It's not always about physical attraction. Sometimes it's respect. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's projection. Either way, you'll learn something real. And real is what you came for. But here's the catch. Don't weaponize what she says. Don't bring it up later when you're upset. Don't compare yourself. That kills the openness. Instead, thank her, smile, undiff. You're wise. Take mental notes because every answer is a mirror, not just of her, but of you. You'll either reflect strength or fear. And if you're here, I already know which one you're choosing. Now let me ask. You something? Are you man enough to handle that answer? If so, let's make it clear. Comment below. I want the truth and stay with me because the next question, the tone might be the most disarming of them all. Question 6. If you could change 6. If you could change one thing about our relationship, what would it be? One thing about our relationship. What would it be? It's this question. It's not light. It's not playful. It goes straight to the pulse. But if you want the truth, if you want to know what she thinks but doesn't say, you have to ask it. Here's the thing most men miss. Women don't usually express dissatisfaction through confrontation. They do it through distance, through silence, through subtle withdrawal of affection or energy. So when you give her a direct window like this, you're handing her permission. Permission. To speak? Let's take a real example. Jonathan is 52. He's been with Dana, 48, for about 5 years. On paper, things look good. Okay? No major fights, good communication, solid connection, but something's off. Okay? She seems less present, less affectionate, more TRANSACTIONAL. So, one Friday night after a couple glasses of wine, Jonathan asked if you could change one thing about us, what would it be? Dana didn't answer right away. She looked at her glass, then at him, and said, I miss feeling wanted, not needed, not useful, wanted. She told him that somewhere along the way, things became routine, safe, but boring. She didn't want chaos. She didn't want drama, but she missed that tension, the sexual edge, the mystery. Now, Jonathan could have reacted with guilt or defensiveness or shame, but he didn't. He just said, thank you for telling me. That night wasn't an argument. It wasn't a fight. Asterisk, It was a breakthrough. Because here's what most men don't realize. Asking this question shows leadership. It says, I'm not afraid of discomfort. I'm committed to growth. And let's be clear, sometimes the answer will sting. She might say, I wish we had more passion. Or, I wish we talked about more than just bills and errands, but you can't grow from what you don't know. This question exposes not just her desires, it exposes where you've drifted from being the man she fell for. Let's talk about another example. Gregory is 58, retired firefighter. He's been married to Angela, 54, for over 2 decades. One night after watching a movie that sparked an emotional conversation, he asked, if you could change one thing about our relationship, what would it be? Angela looked at him and said, I wish you listened without fixing everything. That landed hard, but it was honest. She didn't want solutions. She wanted presence, softness, witnessing. Gregory realized he'd been problem-solving out of love. But love isn't always a to-do list. Sometimes it's just being there fully. When you ask this question, you uncover the emotional blind spots, because no relationship is perfect. And no man sees everything, especially when he's working, providing, building. But this question slows everything down. It invites vulnerability. It removes pride. And ironically, the moment you drop your armor, she feels safer. She feels closer. And here's the twist. The more open you are to hearing what she would change, the less likely she'd want to change anything at all. Why? Because she'd feel emotionally seen. That alone rewires connection. But let me give you a warning. Don't ask this question, Anthon. Dismiss what she says. If she gives you a truth, respect it. If she's vague, ask again gently. If she says nothing, that's still an answer. Pay attention, Nan, always. Always follow through, because nothing kills attraction faster than asking deep questions and doing a thing with the answers. You want to lead? Then lead with courage. Lead with curiosity. Lead with calm. And remember, what she says here doesn't just reveal her, it reveals how strong you are. So if you're the kind of man who asks the hard questions, say it in the comments. I face truth, and stick around. The next question, it doesn't just reveal her secrets, it reveals her fantasies. 7. What do you miss about being single? Question 7. What do you miss about being single? It's a dangerous question. Not because of the answer, but because most men never ask it. They assume, she's with me now. What's there to miss? But here's the truth. Every person gives up something when they commit. Freedom, mystery, spontaneity, and pretending she doesn't sometimes long for those things only makes you blind to reality. Asking this question doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to face the parts of her heart that still belong to her independence. Let's look at Gregory, 56. He's been with Rachel, 49, for 7 years. One night, over a glass of bourbon, he looked at her and asked, what do you miss about being single? She paused, took a breath, then said quietly, I miss sleeping in without guilt. I miss listening to music without earbuds in. I miss flirting without it meaning anything. Hesley. Now here's where it gets powerful. She wasn't saying she missed being without him. She was saying she missed being with herself. And Gregory didn't flinch. He nodded. He said, thanks for telling me. But Kaza got it. He saw her not as a possession, but as a person. That's Wethus. Question does. It releases the pressure. Says, I know you gave up things to be with me, and that matters. Let's take another example. Marcus, 48, is a real estate broker. He's been married to Celeste, 46, for 12 years. During a weekend away in the mountains, the conversation got deep. He asked, what do you miss about being single? Celeste smiled and said, I miss the quiet in my own head. Not because Marcus was loud, but because marriage brings noise, chores, schedules, Expectations? She missed the calm of not needing to be on all the time. Now, Marcus didn't get defensive. He didn't joke it away. He listened. And what he learned that night helped him. Create new habits, giving her alone time, surprising her with solace space, letting her breathe. Because here's the reality. Women don't want Tobe single again. But they do want parts of that freedom, the space to be wild, to be unfiltered, to be theirs, not just yours. When you ask this question and actually listen, you give her back the oxygen she's been craving. And paradoxically, that makes her fall deeper into you. Why? Because you become the rare man who doesn't need toe control, who doesn't panic at her independence, who isn't threatened by her memories of freedom. You become the man who gives more than he takes. And that's intoxicating. But here's your warning. Do not use her answers against her. Don't say things like, well, maybe you should go be single again then. That's boy energy, man energy. It says, I hear you, I see you, and I'll meet you there. Ask the question, hold the truth. Watch hair. Soften. Because when a woman can admit what she misses without punishment, she stops hiding. She stops resenting, she starts trusting. Now, if you've got the strength to ask this, prove it. Drop it in the comments. Embrace honesty and don't go anywhere. What comes next? Let's just say it's where truth turns into heat. Question 8. When was the last time you felt truly desired? 8. When was the last time you felt truly desired? There's a silence in this question that hits deeper than most men realize. You see, when you ask her when she last felt truly desired, not loved, not liked, not needed, desired. It stirs something primal. It bypasses logic. It hits Thebody. Most women won't expect it, especially when it comes from a man who isn't just trying to get something, especially when it's asked in a moment of lowered guard. Say after that second drink, when the room is dim and the air is soft, because what this question really does is reveal her hunger. Let Meg view a real story. Victor, 52, had been married for over 20 years. He told Nat for the last 5 years, intimacy with his wife, Angela, 50, had become a routine obligatory. Even one night, after a long overdue dinner with Winnie, no distractions, he asked her that exact question. When was the last time Iwu felt truly desired? She looked down, took a breath, then she said, before kids. Not last week. Not even last year, but before a whole chapter off life had even started. That answer cracked something open. Not because Victor had done something wrong, but because he finally asked the question that no one else had dared to. You see, most men think desire is only about physical attraction. It's not. It's about attention. Undivided, intentional attention. It's about being seen, not just looked at. It's about energy. And here's the truth. If a woman doesn't feel like she's still desirable, to you, she starts to wonder if she's still desirable at all. And that void someone or something will eventually try to fillet. Now imagine the reverse. Imagine you're the one who brings it up. Not because you're jealous, not because you're suspicious, but because you actually want to know. That kind of question does something powerful. It communicates, I see the woman in you, not just the partner. It reminds her that you remember that you still want to connect where it matters. Not for control, not for show, but because you miss that fire too. This question also reveals resentment, boredom, or hidden longing. Sometimes her answer will surprise you. Sometimes it'll hurt beautiful ways. If she's honest, it will wake something up. Here's another example. Mark, 47, recently reconnected with Hisack's Emily, 45, after they'd been apart for a few months. So they met for drinks, aspirins. It was supposed to be light. But that question, he asked it halfway through her second cocktail. Her response, she laughed at first, then she paused and whispered, when you used to grab me in the kitchen without a word. Right there, a moment of truth. She wasn't just reminiscing. She was admitting, I miss being taken. That's what this is about. It's not about guilt tripping. It's not manipulation. It's reconnection. It's tapping back into the current that made her feel alive in the first place. Now, listen carefully. This question works only if your tone is right. Soft, non-threatening, no judgment. It's not a trap. It's an invitation for her to step back into her own sensuality. And if she does, don't interrupt. Don't joke. Don't fix. Just let her answer. When a woman opens up about something this vulnerable, what you do next matters more than any, Thinduv said. Hold that space. Let it breathe. Let it settle. Because the truth is, most men never ask. And the few who do, they're remembered. Next time the setting is right, ask her. But be ready to listen, because her answer might just change the way you see her, or the way she sees you. I see the truth. Drop that in the comments if you've ever felt what we just talked about. Now, if this question struck something in you, just wait until you hear the next one. It's the one that breaks the mask completely. Let's keep going. Question 9. Is there something you fantasize about but haven't told me? 9. Is there something you fantasize about but haven't told me? This one hits deep, doesn't it? Not just a question. It's an invitation into her. Private world, most men never go there. They don't ask. They don't even want to know. At least not really. But when you do, when you look her in the eye and ask her, is there something you fantasize about but haven't told me? You create a ripple in her comfort zone. And in that ripple, truth lives. Let's make this real. Paul is 51. He'd been dating Maya, 49, for almost a year. Comfortable, predictable, good on the surface, but something was off. One night, wine on the table, playlist on shuffle. He leaned in and asked her this exact question. She froze. Then she smiled slow sideways and said, "You really want to know?" No. What followed wasn't wild or inappropriate. It was vulnerable. It washed him on. She shared a fantasy about being seen again. Not just physically, but emotionally. Craved. She wanted to feel the heat of being wanted for who she is now, not who she used to be. That's the script about fantasy. It's not always wild or scandalous. Sometimes it's just about being wanted without judgment, being pursued, being surprised. By chosen, again. And for many women, especially over 45s, fantasies aren't about something new. They're about remembering who they are underneath all the roles they've been playing. Wife, mother, partner, professional. You ask this question, and what you're releasing is, I can handle your truth. I won't use it against you. I want to know the parts of you you've hidden. That alone is rare. Don't rush this. Don't throw it out casually while scrolling on your phone. Ask it when the vibe is right. When there's softness in the room, when she's relaxed. When you've proven through your actions that you're not the kind of man who gets insecure when he hears something real. Let me give you another example. Daniel, 58, and Sarah, 54, had been together for decades. During a weekend getaway, after a long bath and even longer silence, he kissed her just like that. She exhaled. Then she said, I've imagined what it would be like if we met for the first time again. Like strangers at a hotel bar. No history, just chemistry. What did Daniel do? He made that fantasy real. Later that night, he left their room, came back with his collar open, leaned on the doorframe, and said, Is the seat taken? That's what this question is for. Not to expose, but to explore. Because when you access her fantasy world with respect and confidence, you don't just get information, you unlock desire. Most men fear the answer. You should welcome it, because it means she still has fantasies, and that means there's still fire to work with. I want the truth. Comment that below if you're the kind of man who isn't afraid of hearing it. And if that one got you thinking, wait till you see how it all comes together. Let's move to the final piece. Question 10. What do you think about us in 5 years? 10. What do you think about us in 5 years? Now, this question isn't about getting some fairy tale answer. It's about clarity, about vision, about seeing eye for heart's compass still points in your direction. When you ask a woman, especially one over 40, what do you think about us in 5 years? You're not just talking about time. You're talking about alignment, intimacy, stability, growth. It's the kind of question that stops her in her tracks because it forces her to evaluate not just you, but herself. Her desires, her doubts, her dreams. Let's make it practical. Take Martin, 55, divorced for a few years, dating Teresa, 52. Things were smooth, but Martin couldn't shake the feeling that they were just drifting. Not really moving forward, not truly building anything. So one evening, no wine, no romantic setup, just truth. He looked at her and asked, "Where do you see us in 5 years?" She blinked, thought about it, then said, "I'm not sure. I love what we have now, but I don't know if it's going anywhere." That one sentence told him more than 6 months of date nights. It didn't mean she didn't care. It meant she wasn't planning. She was coasting. And for Martin, who was ready to build a real future, that answer changed everything. This is why this question matters. It's not about forcing her into a box. It's about understanding if you're even on the same page or in the same damn book. Because here's what Mosman overlook. A woman who truly sees a future with you is already living in that future emotionally. She plans in we, not me. She thinks in our, not mine. She doesn't hesitate when you talk about holidays next year or where you might live down the line. She's already there. If she's truly invested, on the flip side, if you ask this and she dodges, deflects, or laughs it off, you've just uncovered the truth she wasn't saying out loud. Now, here's something powerful. Even if her answer isn't what you wanted, it's what you needed. Because clarity beats comfort every time. Don't ask this question hoping for a fantasy. Ask it like a man horsebacks himself enough to know when to stay and when to walk. And remember this, her answer isn't a judgment of your worth. It's just a reflection of where she is. Some women fear this question because it reveals the gap between how they feel and how they act. Some welcome it because it gives them a chance to say, yes, I see us together. I want that. And if she says that, then you've got something rare. A partner who's not just present, but committed. So ask with calm. Listen with courage, and no matter her answer, stand tall in your truth. You're not asking where she wants to be. You're asking if she wants to be there with you. And that, my friend, is a question worth asking. Conclusion. If this video sparked something in you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss the mindset shifts that can quietly change everything inside. We don't chase, well lead, and we grow together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.